It is March 2nd. It's day 41 of the Trump presidency. And we are recording and posting early today because I am tired and I want to go to bed. And I bet if you're watching this, you are tired too. I feel like at one point in human history, there wasn't so much news on the weekends. We do not have that luxury today. We're going to just have to keep going. Doesn't matter if you're tired. That's not true. You guys can take a break if you want to. Of course you can. I will not be doing that. I'm going to keep doing this. And I had a friend asking me the other day, like, if I was okay and how I was doing with this. I think whether fortunate or unfortunate, my life experience has well prepared me for this level of darkness, and I am fine. I'm actually tired more so because I think my body, I'm still kind of getting over the food poisoning. I'm just, I need a little extra rest for a week or so. But anyways, let's get into it, shall we? So the UK is now working directly with Ukraine to try to come towards a peace deal. And Europe is pledging to financially support, just to step in and do more for Ukraine, basically, until they have achieved some kind of a peace deal. But Ukraine is still saying, like, a minerals deal is on the table with the US, the UK. His name's Starmer, the new guy in the UK. He's basically begging Trump, like, hey, let's do this. So Ukraine is willing to do whatever it takes. And, Zelensky has said many times in exchange for NATO membership for Ukraine, he will step down. This is not about Zelensky. He doesn't give a shit about himself. And people keep talking about, like, his political career. He doesn't fucking care. He doesn't care about his political career. He's trying to save his country. He was never a politician to begin with. In any case, I do, for their sake, hope that somehow, works out. I have my suspicions that Russia is not going to keep their word. Similar to what's happening with Gaza and Israel, which we'll talk about that next. I think that there are certain situations where, like, Russia continuously invades other countries, right? Russia is trying to expand its territory. Everyone knows that. And Putin doesn't even really hide the fact that he's willing to fight very dirty in all situations. So I don't feel like a ceasefire from Russia means much of anything, honestly. I think it'll just lead to Russia coming back around again, which is why Zelensky is trying to insist on NATO membership for Ukraine, because with NATO membership comes the guarantee that NATO will step in and defend you. Now, what's interesting is, will NATO agree to that? Because it's basically going to then almost promise that NATO will at some point go to war with Russia. It's a mess when we have fucking bullies that have power, period. And Putin has overstayed his welcome, in my opinion. Speaking of bullies, so just a recap on what's happening with the Gaza ceasefire in Israel. Okay, so there was phase one of the Gaza ceasefire was that Hamas was giving back a bunch of the hostages they had taken in exchange for the ceasefire. Okay, it was meant to then move on to a second phase where a true end of the war was meant to be negotiated. Okay, and obviously the ideas about what that means are very different from each side, right? Israel is basically saying they want to clear out the area completely. They don't want any Palestinians there. They're going to build some fucking Trump tower on the Gaza Strip, okay? And Gaza is obviously not going to agree to that. Long story short, Israel does not want to move on to phase two. Israel wants to extend phase one, force Hamas to release the rest of the hostages, and then go back to war, because they're not done killing people, is really what it comes down to. So since Gaza will not agree to that, Hamas will not agree to that, what they're doing instead is, what Israel has done is stopped. They have control over the checkpoints that the aid, like food and medicine and everything, needs to get through to get to Gaza. They've just stopped it. Israel has stopped it. And I've heard that they may have resumed fighting last night as well. So things are not good. And again, no surprises there. Like, they're not going to come to an agreement. I hate to say that, but they're just not. Because it's sort of like the crazy people that keep trying to say that this is Ukraine's fault when Russia invaded Ukraine. It's insanity. And what Israel is asking for is essentially, I hate to use the word, but it's just the truth. They're asking for genocide or removal of those people from that land. Like, they're not interested in a two-state solution. They don't want to compromise. To them, peace means, all those people are dead. And similarly, that's what Russia wants to take Ukraine over. Well, Ukraine is a free and sovereign nation. Like, it's not going to do that, right? Like, so it's kind of like if someone's beating you and saying that you refuse to keep the peace because you won't stop crying. It's insane. It's abusive rhetoric that is frequently used in one-on-one relationships as well. I've heard a lot of people talking about how triggering all of this has been for them to watch because it reminds them of their own abusive past with people. Anyways, again, we can expect more of the same from Israel and also I honestly don't like using the words Russia and Israel when we're talking about this, because what we're actually talking about is Netanyahu and Putin. Those people, we really need to work on this because it applies to us too, right? There are many people in Israel that do not agree with what Netanyahu is doing. Netanyahu is basically Israel's version of Trump. And he's also a criminal. And a lot of what he's doing right now is to try to keep himself out of jail. He was on trial awaiting charges for money laundering or something. And he still is awaiting charges. And if this ends, he goes right back to that situation. So he has to keep this going. Anyways, same with Putin. Putin certainly does not represent all of Russia, the people that live there. And a lot of them just simply have no choice because he, stamps out any type of dissent. He kills people if they try to disagree with him. In any case, very sad situation all around. The ACLU is now suing the United States government to try to block the migrants from being sent to Guantanamo. That is wonderful. However, the slow arm of the law is kind of like not a match for what's happening because once people get sent to Guantanamo, honestly, a lot of times they're just like lost into the ethers. There's no way for their lawyers to contact them or their family. People might not know where they are. It's really scary. It's horrible. The whole thing is disgusting. This is just a mind-blowing... Like, the fact that they're not ashamed of this just is crazy. The United States military has removed some words from all of their websites. Can you guess which words? Respect, dignity, and history. And I'm dead fucking serious. That is their way of trying to comply with the anti-DEI initiatives. That should tell you everything you need to know about what the fuck that really is. It's actually so embarrassing for our country and just for humans in general that this is really a thing that's happening. So the USDA has now come up with a plan to deal with the bird flu egg crisis, and it's going to cost $1 billion. So they are spending $600 billion on biosafety precautions at the egg farms. And then they're going to spend another $400 million to replace the birds that have died. And it's going to take some time because all of the birds that were culled, it takes time for an animal to grow up and mature and get to a point where they're able to lay eggs. And obviously then it's only the female birds. You can't control the sex of the birds that are born. Like, the whole thing is a disaster. but also it's gross. And the industry that raises chickens and eggs is disgusting. We really should be taking this opportunity for a huge push to local farms, honestly. Like I currently get my eggs from Trader Joe's. I understand, again, like capitalism really prevents us from being able to shop locally very easily because it takes a lot more time. We have to know our neighbors who have eggs. We've got to like drive somewhere maybe a little further away. It's just a different situation. But I really think that the way that we're currently raising animals in this country, especially with climate change and, with climate change and rising temperatures, these types of viruses and bacteria and just general gross things that can happen are going to happen more frequently. And so we really need to consider that, because when you have the problem is, like if we had smaller flocks, you wouldn't have to kill, however, I think it was like millions of birds that they had to kill. Anyways, yeah, the way we're doing a lot of things needs to change. So Andrew Cuomo is running for mayor of New York. I don't know, man. People really hated his guts not too long ago. I've seen some people say that because of his name recognition, they think he has a pretty good chance. I don't know if I agree with that. We'll see. It seems like New York is in a little bit of a crisis with everything that's been going on, but we'll see what happens. This was really good news and honestly kind of wild news. I knew that Tesla stock was down, but it's gone down 30% in 1 month. That is like bananas. That is probably, I think that's billions of dollars. I'm pretty sure. You'd have to go look at the actual, the actual valuation of the company, but it's hilarious. And, I don't know what he thought was going to happen. Everyone hates his guts now. And it's like an embarrassment. It's not just even people who like him and want to continue to support him, driving a Tesla now, especially if it's a Cybertruck, is honestly dangerous. I mean, I would say that, like violent crime is obviously probably a little bit higher in terms of just like attacking people for political statements. And I wouldn't feel safe. Not that I would ever drive that car, but like, I wouldn't feel like I don't put bumper stickers on my car. I didn't put signs on my lawn. I spend all my free time trying to campaign for the Democrats or support them in any possible way I can. Even when I don't fully agree with them, I do that. And I still didn't put any indicators on the outside of what I believe, because people are insane and I don't trust anyone. So anyway. This is a really big story, and honestly, this should have been the first story I covered, but in any case, Pete Hegseth has ordered the United States Cyber Command to stand down against Russia on all cyber crimes, both like our offensive, like where we, spy on them or whatever, and also defensive. That is really freaky. I mean, these people are absolutely all Russian operatives, and 100% sure they're all being paid. I mean, there's a lot of evidence of that. Even, again, what was that guy? The guy that just came out who used to be part of the Kremlin. He was like an operative for Russia, and he came out and said that Trump was a Russian operative and has been for decades, and that his Russian name is Krasnov. All these people are in on this together. In any case, like, there's no reason why you would do that with a country that has been considered an enemy of the United States, that has been proven to have been running propaganda, trying to influence our elections. Like, there's no reason why you would take our Cyber Command Division off of that unless they're planning something. I'm sorry, but there just isn't. And I'm sure they are planning something. They're like literally at the finish line here. So Lord knows what it is. Speaking of which, similarly, Moscow is now asking to have direct flights between the United States and Russia reinstated. I'm sure that Trump will say yes. You know, I've seen a lot of like videos of military personnel. Like, people are starting to freak out. And some MAGA people are really, really mad. Actually, there's a couple stories here about that. So GOP leaders are urging Republican lawmakers to stop holding town halls because they've been so dramatic and so chaotic. And I'm going to report on a specific one. That'll be the last story at the end tonight, but it's not going well out there. They're getting pissed. They're getting kicked off their Medicaid. They're losing their jobs. They're mad, and they should be. And we try to tell them, don't freaking vote for that guy, but it's too late. Speaking of the election, Kamala Harris just announced that she is going to run again in 2028. I am ecstatic to hear that. I understand not everyone agrees with me. You know what, though? Like, if she isn't the best choice, if she's not the best candidate, then she'll get primaried and someone else will get put in as the candidate, I adore her. I think she's brilliant. I think she's incredibly capable. We'll see what happens, but, I will absolutely be supporting her unless there's some other like really incredible person that I don't know exists right now. We'll see what happens. Elon has called for the United States to leave NATO and to leave the UN. I knew that was just a matter of time, and I believe that is what will happen. It's still going to be really devastating in so many ways. And, not only is it a horrible decision, I don't think the United States has ever been this vulnerable militarily. We literally have people, this administration is a Trojan horse for Russia. And Russian state TV, by the way, has been playing videos of like showing the path that like a nuke would take to blow us up. I'm dead fucking serious. So, like, they're not our friends. It's pretty scary. It's a scary time to be a person. I find some relief knowing that like we just can't control any of this. There isn't jack shit you can do about that other than what you're probably already doing, like speaking out, supporting the people around you, not pretending to assimilate with the MAGA crowd. I don't know what else we do. This is big stuff, and it's not, it's over our heads, And if we're lucky, we'll live through it. That's how I feel anyways. So Elon's Doge employees have been posting some weird stuff online, okay? I don't know that it's technically confidential information, but they're posting org charts on GitHub. And again, who is this for? Like, why are they doing that? These people are absolute traitors to the United States of America. I pray to God that I live long enough to see justice against these people. It will make this lifetime go down easier, because it is ruining our lives. No cap, it's ruining our lives. And it may ruin my child's life too. Or at least force her to, she's open to the idea of leaving the country when she gets old enough to leave. And there may be no choice. And who knows, between now and then, what will happen. Or if we'll have to leave sooner. Like, we just don't know what's going to happen. Anyways, another January 6th pardonee was shot. This is crazy. I watched the video. I don't necessarily recommend watching it. It's really dark. His name was Matthew Huddle. I actually don't know what he did on January 6th, but he was pardoned recently, and he got pulled over just a traffic stop, okay? I think for speeding. And the cops were like getting his information, and he's telling them that he's a January 6th defendant, which is a weird thing to tell them. And then they tell him that they're going to arrest him because he's got a bunch of speeding tickets or something. He's not paying his speeding tickets. He keeps getting pulled over for speeding. And then he immediately goes, I'm going to kill myself. I'm not going back to jail. And he pulls out a gun in his car. And then they shot him. I guess. I don't know much about policy. I'm assuming it's just because he had a gun and like maybe they thought he could shoot them first or something. Like, I don't know. Anyways, he's dead. This is like number between 10 and 15 people. Like a lot of the Jan 6 defendants are like dead or back in jail. It's crazy. And that just goes back to what I've said before. Like, they're not well. Those are not mentally stable humans, which is why this keeps happening to them. Like, they keep ending up back in these violent, scary situations, or with DUIs, killing people by accident, drunk driving accidents, just craziness. Sorry, that was dark. Okay, so this is our last story for the night, and is it funny? I don't know if it's funny. I mean, sort of. I watched the video of this too. So Senator Roger Marshall, he lives in Northwest Kansas. He was having a town hall there, and I watched the video. It's actually, honestly, it's not funny. It's sad. So it's really heavily red there, obviously. And it's literally just a room full of like MAGA Republicans, but they're pissed. Their government employees are losing their jobs. So an old man stands up and starts talking about how government employees, and a lot of them are vets, are losing their jobs, and it's not right. And literally the guy, Roger Marshall, goes, well, it is the most political bullshit thing I've ever seen in my entire life. He goes, well, I passed the mic over to one of my, he didn't call him a senior, he called him elder. He was like, one of my elders, and I listened to what he had to say, and I really thank you for that. And I've got some other things I've got to do. Literally, he was like, I've got other engagements this afternoon, so I'm going to go. And then he just started like running out of the room, and they're all booing at him. He is a little bitch. And they all are. They're all little bitches. And honestly, the problem with allowing government officials to trade stocks is like, that's what they're there for, babe. They're not there to serve the people. They don't give a fuck about the people. And the reason that they defend their jobs so vehemently, because they don't even make that much money. They make like between $100,000 and $200,000 a year or something. It's not a lot of money to do what they do. Maybe it's closer to 2. But the point is, so like, you know, if their job got too hard or if they weren't doing very well, they would just leave if that's all they got out of it. It's not. It's not. They're making millions of dollars behind the scenes with insider trading. That's what's really, like, our government is literally an insider trading operation right now. And the lobbying too. Like all the money that like Clarence Thomas, all these people taking backdoor deals from like lobbying, you know, it's disgusting. It's so dirty. It's so dirty. It's so, all of that needs to, I mean, I'm sorry, I don't want to end this show with agreeing with something that Trump once said, but that portion of Drain the Swamp would have been fantastic if we were draining that swamp, if we were actually putting regulations on insider trading, like not allowing them to trade stocks while they're in office, period. Sorry. You better be doing this for the love of the game. And if you're not, then get the fuck out. Bye. And also, like, overturning Citizens United is probably the most important thing that needs to happen if we're ever going to have a country again. Otherwise, crazy, psychotic, drug-addled billionaires will keep buying our elections. So, anyways, it's a real difficult time for our country. This is as serious as a heart attack, and I don't know. No one does if we're going to make it out or not. You know, we'll find out. Happy Sunday. Sorry. I'm sorry. I love you guys. I'll see you tomorrow.